why they always tripping. We do this every
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Lindsay Life Podcast. Today we got a special guest, the mayor. Yeah, you heard it right, the mayor, Misty Villarreal. Yeah.
Thank you guys, thanks for having me.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for coming. It shows that you really care because we're a section of Lindsay where we're a little crazy or a little more art-free, artistic. So, let's see it. Let's get it. Tell us something about your life right now. What's going on?
About my life right now? Well, I'm pretty busy. I'm, like I said, I'm doing the mayor job, so I got a lot of duties and extra duties that go with that title. And so, just busy, my goal is to make Lindsay strive, and so someone's got to do it, and that's what I'm doing.
So, let's just go back into, are you a Lindsay resident? You were born here?
I was born here.
The hospital here?
Yep.
Or are you one of those people that are born here?
No, bred. I'm born and raised here in Lindsay in 1979, baby.
Oh, dang. And did you ever move out? Or you been
Never
here
moved, no. That's weird because I think back. Oh, you know what? I did move in third grade, up to where my grandparents lived up north, and but it wasn't for me. Lindsay's my home, so yeah, we moved back. I hated it up there, so I've been here. It was up in Calaveras County, Valley Springs. Yeah,
way up there, up north?
Yeah. It was just like a big culture shock from. I was in third grade, and that was a culture shock for me. Living up there and being in the only Mexican person at that school.
Oh, so, you were the only Mexican person?
Well, I'm half white, but I consider myself. I lean more to the Mexican culture because that's what I've been raised with. So.
So when you were a kid, tortillas and beans, or bologna sandwiches?
But hey, probably both. You know what I mean? Yeah. But hey, my favorite are rice and beans. Go in a tortilla. So.
Okay, that's cool. So give me a good memory about when you went that way.
So when I went that way, I felt like I was ahead of the game and educate. We were doing up there. I was already doing things, in Lindsay. So I was I was bored. I was more athletic than a lot of them up there. So, but I just didn't like it. I didn't connect with anybody. So.
Was it a smaller town? Or?
It was a smaller town, yeah.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
I didn't like it though.
And then how'd you convince them to bring you back?
I think my parents went up there, if I remember right, for job opportunities. Went up there and worked, and then it didn't work out. I don't even think they found a place. We were living with my grandparents and my aunt, and so we just came back to Lindsay.
And by fourth grade, you were back?
Oh, I was back with my people, so it was cool. Yeah.
And at that time, you missed your friends, and you remember?
Oh heck yeah, I remember, and they remembered me and stuff like that. And I don't even think we lived there for a year. We might have, but it was not a good year for me. So. Because
Lindsay's one of those places where you have friends forever. You have a friend that you've known since second grade all the way till now, right?
That's the thing with Lindsay. I feel we're one big family. I think everybody knows everybody, and we're always there, even when, through the good and the bad times. I think we'll have someone will always step up. And so I think for Lindsay, it's always been home to me. You know what I mean? When people say, oh, it's home, this is home. It's just a big, one happy family sometimes.
That's what I think too, because there's been plenty of times where I thought I was being sneaky and a car passes by that I don't even know, but then they call my dad hey, your son's making out with some chick over here, and I'm a little 5th grader, 6th grader, and he's oh, I know what you were doing. Oh, yeah. And you're over here thinking it's magic, but it's just such a small town.
Yeah, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, and around here, your kid could walk to the store and you're not scared, right? Or how would you feel about that?
No, I think that I would agree. We would go. We walked everywhere.
Exactly.
I literally would ride my bike at a very young age to the L. Yeah. I would say you're not from Lindsay if you never climbed the L. You know what I mean? That is a golden piece right there. Yeah, I'd literally load up with some candy in my pockets. We would pull oranges off the tree, drink out of the water hoses. No one but messed with you because, you were doing your own thing. We didn't have cell phones and video games. I didn't grow up with all that stuff.
I remember when I went up to the L, you know how there's a cave in there? Uh-huh. And there was a bunch of tires in there so people wouldn't go in there. So we were such bad kids that we moved those tires. And I remember going in there, being close, just laying down and then going into the cave. And I'm just whoa, we're in the cave, And then 2 of my friends out of 10, 3 of us went inside, right?
Yeah.
And then you start walking through there and the cave goes for a good little while. And it starts feeling black. It starts feeling dark. There's no reception, no nothing. And I remember we walked all the way until it just stopped. And I'm damn, when you're a kid, you do these things and you don't have second thoughts.
No,
you don't have third thoughts. Right now, I wouldn't even go in there.
Yeah. I tell the kids now, because none of this newer generation has never been up there. So I'm like, oh,
Really?
yeah. I go, that's weird. I mean, I think they blocked it off and stuff like that. But I said, like, if you were to get on top of that mountain and look over, like, there's pond. It's beautiful. Like, the people don't know what we have in our backyard.
Exactly.
You know, you got to explore it.
When we did our Stash and Dash 2 years ago, Chacon donated, Chacon Tattoos, he donated $1,000 tattoo voucher. And that one, we can't just hide this somewhere. And, you know, so at 6 a.m, shout out my brother Eric, he lives in Visalia, and he's like, bro, I'll go over there at 6 a.m, and I'll climb up to the L and stash it up there for you, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, perfect, because I don't know if I'll make it.
yeah. And it's steep coming down. I probably wouldn't do it now, because now that I'm older, so.
Yeah, so he goes and he hides it up there, right? And he sends me the pictures, like, post it. So, boom, we're posting it. And people start tagging us, like, like dying going up the mountain, you know? And my boy Devin, shout out Devin, he's the one who actually got it, but he shot me a clip of where he's grabbing the thing and he goes like that, and there's like 6 cars parked down there, and people were trying to climb up after him, but yeah, he made it first.
That's cool.
Yeah. But like, in Lindsay, what's something that you don't like?
Something that I don't like. You know what? Probably. I'm not gonna say roads because everybody says roads.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean?
like,
I've been like, now that I'm like been on the council, like I literally drive into different cities and I always look at the roads. I'm like, everybody has crazy roads. Don't get me wrong. If I would love to fix all the roads. Something that I don't like. God, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think, you know, like, not that I dislike it, but I want to get downtown popping, like looking good, you know what I mean? Because I think our community and our people, they deserve it, you know? So that's like the goal. I mean, it's not a pretty sight, so I would say that that's one thing I don't like, but there's not much I don't like about Lindsay, you know?
Because that's another thing that I feel like, you know how Visalia, everything's on the 99, right? So like, the McDermott actually brings people this way, you know, if people will make the drive. But I'm like, what could we do to make people go out of their way 30 minutes where it's popping and there's everything to come here?
See, I think the farmer's market is one of them.
It's one of them,
people like come for that, you know, everywhere. Man, that's a good question. That's something we can reach out to the community. Like, what is something we can bring? I mean, for me, I would be like, hey, a brewery, you know, something like, you know, where you can kind of like something like the Barrel House.
But did you see when they guys tried to do the Brew Fest and it was a flop?
No, you know what? I think I heard something about that. Yeah.
Well, they tried to do a brew fest or something, right? And I don't know if it went good or not, but I heard it like they lost money.
Okay.
You know, so like right here we're mostly, you know, everybody's paisa. Right?
Yeah.
You know, at least 80%. So like I feel like any Mexican event does it.
Yeah.
Because the farmers market, what do you consider that?
Yeah. I mean, I consider like it's a culture thing. Like, you know, Mexicanos go out there to have a good time.
Like as bad as I would want to throw a rap show and want to pack it, like you could bring the most famous person and it's going to be kind of hard.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but man, you bring some band.
Sonora Dinamita, it's going to get packed, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, like, I always think that in my head because people do come to this store from Visalia, McFarland, Hanford. You know, you'd be surprised.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's very crazy sometimes. And I'm like, dang, you guys came from McFarland? They're like, yeah, we follow you guys on Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever. And they come, you know? But I'm like, what else could we do? Something so big where they come here, you know?
Yeah. I think we collaborate and figure that out. You know what I mean? I'm willing to help. I'm willing to pitch ideas. But, like, we really have to, even if people came from out of town, you know what I mean? Like, we would have to sell it, like, for something big. But for our community, it's going to take, I mean, I don't think a lot, but, like, they like food, they like music, so.
Another thing, food. Like, what do you like to eat here in Lindsay?
What do I like to eat here in Lindsay? I really like the molcajete I haven't been there lately, but I love the molcajete. You know, I love Mexican food. I'm trying to think of something.
See, like, that's another thing.
We don't have much here.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
So I'm trying to get to that, like, at the end of the day, you should be able to name 3 restaurants off the top of your head, you know? But another problem we have here is food.
Yeah, and I mean, I like China's. But
China's like a staple of living.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So you can't, like, go bad, you know, going there. But I liked those sushi when it was here.
Yes.
I thought it was good food, you know, good quality food. I mean, it was tasty, it was flavorful, and then they left, you know. And I hear a lot of, you know, things that, you know, the rent was too high there. So that's one thing that we really have to focus on is, like, not leaving these buildings vacant, you know, and fill them up. Let's get these businesses going.
Yeah, because, like, what's really going on with all the abandoned buildings?
I think people have bought, from what I'm hearing, is people have bought them and they're just sitting there. You know what I mean? And that's something we established an economic development team with the city, where a group of people are going to go down and to the city and just try to figure out what they could do to better downtown, you know, and look at those vacant buildings and see who owns them. And I mean, if they sit there, shouldn't they have to pay a fee, you know? Because they do it in other cities, you know? And so that's something that I know that they're looking at and trying to make, bring more businesses to downtown. And I'm all for it.
Because where we're at, it was abandoned too.
Yeah.
This spot, for those who don't know, Dark Alley was abandoned for over 20 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
How long, you know, literally, there was nothing in here. And we took it from nothing and, you know, just added whatever we could. And, you know, here we are now.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I remember, because the lady that works at the city services, some older lady, I remember when I was getting my permits, I told her, oh, I'm opening up a store on Mount Vernon. She's like, you're opening up a store on Mount Vernon? Like, with the attitude, like, what do you think that's going to do? You know, and here we are 3 years later.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, that kind of motivated me. I'm like, yeah, I'm opening up a store, you know, in the hood, in the ghetto, where all the bumps pass by. That's where we're doing it, you know? And it's still the same, but now those bums stop here. Like I was showing you outside, they've donated art. You know, I've sold bum beats. You know, I've sold homeless people beats because they've been rappers when they were younger or whatever. And they bring a track and they actually record, and it's just like, I love serving the lower community, the people that are looked down.
Absolutely,
you know?
That's what I do. I like that. I'm for that too. You know, and I think that's one thing I teach in the Lindsay community, and I teach the most disenfranchised learners. You know, at the alternative ed. I've been there for 18 years. I mean, I wanted to help kids. I wanted to change people, not change them. I'm just gonna say I'm going to change them, but I wanted to help them better their lives. I wanted to do something like that in the farm, and that's where I found my passion there, is teaching kids that and give them a second chance of hope. And so that's what I've been doing.
So, like, going back to when you were a kid, like, how was your household? Was it like a toxic household? Was it a good household?
Oh,
like, how was
no, it was toxic. Yeah.
In what form?
In what form? I mean, we grew up with, I experienced addiction, domestic violence, you know, alcoholism, all that stuff. You know, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Exactly.
Because it shaped me who I am, you know what I mean? It told me who I could be, and I know what I didn't want to be, you know? So I'm all for it. I tell my students that all the time, like, I'm not embarrassed of where I come from, you know?
So, like, growing up in that environment, like, how did it affect you on, like, thinking of what you wanted to do, or what were your goals? Like, when you were a kid, did you have goals, or you were so busy living a life that you didn't?
I think I was surviving, you know what I mean? Like, if I look back on it, you know what I mean? I really didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, I was literally going to college when I graduated to play basketball, which I loved, and I still love, and kind of shut my parents up to be like, yeah, I want to go to school, but I was like, oh, I don't really want to go to school. And I mean, I look about 20 years later, look at how, I mean, I got an AA, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a teaching credential. I didn't like school. You know what I mean? But I think you meet people in your life that inspire you to be better, and they bring out the best in you, and that's what I did. And the best that I have, I want to get back to my community. So.
And do you remember a time where that happened to you? You met a person and they put you on, and you were like, you know what? I'm gonna take this person's advice.
You know, I mean, directly, like right now, I mean, I think it's just like once I got into like working at Alt-Ed and then working for the school district in Porterville and seeing what people could do, and I'm like, oh, I could do the same, you know? I didn't even think I was smart enough to go to college. That's why I never realized, like, I'm not smart enough to go to Fresno State. You don't have to be smart to go to college. You just have to have determination and grit, and you'll figure it out, you know?
But what did you go to school for?
I actually went to school for, like, I got my AA, it was just a general, I didn't even know what I was going to do with it, you know? And then I kind of just explored around, and I thought, man, you know what? I love sociology. I love how we shape society and what people do and why they do it. And so I got my BA in sociology, and I was like, well, what am I going to do with that? Well, I was at JJ's working there, and
so you applied there, or what?
Actually, I was working there already when I worked like 3 jobs when I was getting my bachelor's degree. I would drive to Fresno State at night. You know, I had to make ends meet.
And what was the point of having 3 jobs?
Making ends meet.
Really?
Yeah.
Or are you just addicted to work?
No, I'm not addicted to work. I think it was like literally like just trying to make money to survive. I think the price of gas went to like $4. You know, and I was like, man, I got to be able to pay for gas, my car payment, you know, living on my own. Even for some of my tuition, because they said, oh, you make too much money. I'm like, where, you know?
Yeah.
So having to pull out loans and stuff like that. So it was real. Like, I was like, oh, man.
What were your 3 jobs?
I managed I think it's the Monte Vista Apartments over here. Okay. So I was an assistant manager there, which like kind of paid my rent. So it was like, that let me go back to school. I worked at Alt Ed at JJ's, and then I worked for the Yes program in Porterville. And then I went to school at night. I don't know how I did it. I mean, that's why.
3 jobs and going to college, so there's no excuses, right?
No, heck no.
If you want it, you want it.
When you want it, you want it.
Yeah,
you know. And so I went after it, and I mean, years later, I'm educated because I wanted it. You know what I mean? Remember, I didn't like school, so I knew I wanted to make my own money. I didn't want to struggle. I seen my parents struggle. I was like, I don't want to be that person.
And where did your parents work at?
My parents, when I was growing up, my dad, man, when I was little, he worked at LeBou's Packing House. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And then he worked at Walmart Distribution for a long time. And my mom worked at the Walmart store in the photo department and became the manager.
So your parents know English?
Oh, yeah. My mom's white. Oh, and my dad's Mexican.
Right,
yeah. So, yeah, they know English, yeah.
But your dad always knew English?
Yeah. And so, Spanish. She knows both. So.
Is your dad born here in Mexico?
My dad was born in Texas.
Oh, okay. Texas?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but his parents were born in Mexico.
Oh, okay. So you're second generation?
Yeah.
Generation or third?
Third. Yeah. Third. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So are you good with Spanish?
Heck no. I wish. No, my dad didn't. Like I said, my dad didn't take the time to teach us. He was doing other things. And so. And shout out to my dad's not a bad dad. Like he was, but now he's good. He's come through all his battles and stuff like that. And he's got a beautiful soul. So
since like you and your dad are good, everything, the whole patch basically.
Oh yeah.
What's something that you won't ever forget? When he wasn't in his right state of mind. What's something that happened that you're just like, it's always going to play in your head, whether your house got raided or, ambulance took it.
Yeah.
Something that affected you in a way.
You know what? I think that's the reason why my parents don't live here. My parents moved up to Modesto. They live in Modesto. They live up north. So that's something that kind of really impacted. My parents left because of that. My mom was already going to leave, either with him or without him. And so he took that. He did that. He took that choice and left with my mom, and he's been. And
was it like his friends here, or?
It was. He had easy access to things and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
He was just used to the same thing for so long.
Yeah, for so long. Yeah, and so I think just being around it and surrounding yourself with people that are doing it, you're gonna do it. So. Yeah.
So you don't have a memory that you want?
Oh, a memory? Oh man, I think the memory of them just leaving. That was like I was already an adult. But. God, because I'm the one that kind of knew he was doing, his dirt.
Because like I just want you to explain it so people get into that and they see, they picture it.
Yeah.
Like when was when you found out? Because you realize that there's kids out there that their parents are doing drugs and they don't realize it till they're 7th, 8th grade or maybe freshmen where they're like, oh, this is something my parents been doing.
You know what? I probably would take me back financially. My parents made good money.
Oh, really?
Decent money for what they were doing and stuff. Like we could have survived, but I think that's probably one memory, and it's probably not a good memory, that we struggled because the money went elsewhere. You know what I mean? Instead of going into the household, it went to the addiction. So. But
as a kid, how did you know you were struggling?
Because I was old enough already. I'm the oldest of 5.
Oh. Okay,
so I knew, and I kind of was my mom's backbone. I had to help raise my brothers and sisters because of that. So, but I would say, yeah, financially, we had nothing to show for anything because it always went to other things. So, which is sad because you're taking away from your family, But then, as an adult now, I look at it and I'm like, you know what? My dad, he was struggling.
He had his own problems.
He had his own problems. And so I don't you grow up in that Mexican machismo, culture. You can't go get help. You can't do that. You know what I mean? People you're looked upon, down upon when you're weak. Yeah. And so, but if you look at it now, it's okay to do that. It's okay to reach out. It's okay to get help. It's okay to go to, to addiction. What do you call them? AA, stuff like that. It's okay to do stuff like that. But the stigma back then, it was oh, I can't do that. I can't go get none of that. I don't have a problem.
And your mom knew the whole time?
Oh, she didn't know the whole time. We educated her. You know what I mean?
Because a lot of Mexican women they're actually blind too. Also.
Yeah.
They'll have a cokehead husband and they don't even know.
And I think with my mom was too busy working.
Yeah.
So she didn't focus on that. She was trying to make ends meet for us, you know what I mean? And trying to better our lives and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And you guys put her on hey, something's wrong.
Yeah, man, we knew it. And then she kind of, I think she caught on too. You know. Yeah. So, but we...
They're conscious of the situation, they just choose to ignore it.
Yeah,
It's better in a way for them to ignore it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then at the end of the day, too, a lot of like a lot of culture in the Mexican world is like you're not gonna divorce. You know,
no.
like that is super no. You'll get hit before and you just shut up about it because you're not gonna divorce. You know?
And I used to tell him, I'm like, why are you with him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but you know what? Like she paints a good picture of like what marriage is supposed to be about. You know what I mean? Like my parents have been together since junior high. Steve Garvey.
Really?
Yeah, and so they've been married for 45 years, going to be 46, and so but they've been together for 50 something years. But I used to tell her like, why do you like, you know? But now that I look back on it, man, she never like she went through thick and thin with him, and she didn't give up on him. You know what I mean? And that's amazing because you don't see that happen anymore.
Oh no. The other day we were at Applebee's and I just told my brother, I'm like, dude, look at Trip out on all these single parents. You know, you see a dad come in and he has his daughter and son, you know, by themselves. And then you see a woman come in and she has her 2 daughters and they're eating by themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, dang, it's so normalized to just
give
up and, you know.
That's the easy way out, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I agree.
So, like, as you were getting out of high school and all that, you already knew everything. Like, what made you decide to go to college? Your parents were telling you you're going to college?
Well, I think it was my mom kind of pushing it, like, you have it in you, like, go. And I, like, you know, and she knew the basketball coach too. And so she's like, you know, my daughter's going to play basketball, you know. I did, you know, and then after that, it's just like, oh, that's not for me anymore, you know. But I wasn't saying college wasn't perfect because, I mean, you know, when you go to college, you party.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
You were out there.
Oh, I was out there. I was out there. You know, but I think that's what shaped me because I was becoming something that I didn't like. You know what I mean? Just like, you know, I like to drink. I was like that. I was like, man, you know, someone brought it to my attention one time. I was like, man, you're being like your dad. So I kind of like, it was a snap and, you know, like, hey, man, you're being something that you don't like. And so that like clicked in my head. I was like, man, I don't want to be like that. You know?
You found yourself not going to classes or you?
No, just having a good time. You know what I mean?
But were you passing classes or you?
Oh, I was barely passing them, but you know, I was still having stay. I mean,
it wasn't Study Friday.
No, no.
That's cool. That's cool. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to have fun.
Yeah,
because then
I agree.
Then you got these people that are older and never experienced it, and they're like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
trying to do it at an older age.
Yeah, I agree.
You have fun when you're young, and then the serious kicks in, like 35, 40, it's like, okay, time to get shit done.
Yeah, and I think like when you have fun, and then you figure out who you are, because when you're in your 20s, you don't know who you are yet. You're still figuring it out. You know what I mean? And so I think those will shape you. To me, I don't regret anything because that's what made me who I am, and I think I could preach that in my classroom. And kids know, like, man, I'm just like you guys. You know, I'm not nothing better. I've only worked hard, but I've been in your shoes, and I know what it feels like. And I think when you're in their shoes, you're able to not come to their level, but be able to respect where they come from, you know, and understand it. And so, like I said, you have to build relationships with learners. And when you build a relationship with them, you can do endless things with them.
And like, do you have students that have came back or learners? Learners are your students, right?
Yeah. I know,
like
Lindsay lingo. I'm trying to yes.
Okay.
Lindsay.
Yeah. Have you had any come back and be like, hey?
Yeah.
Come on, I'm doing this now, or
I run into them like in places and they got their own families, or hey, I have my own business. I'm like, man, it's a beautiful thing, you know, just to see them prosper. Whether they have their own families and they're taking care of the kids, like it's amazing, you know.
And like for what you do, like people just think like, you talk to kids, you know, but like let's say you have that kid, that grumpy kid that just you can't crack them. Like, how do you get in there?
How do I get it? I mean, like I think I think my personality too. Like I have fun when I'm teaching, you know, okay. And then I think I'm just relatable, like kind of build that relationship with them, and you know, and it might take me a while if there's a learner, but I think that's my specialty. I don't want to brag, but I think that's my specialty. Is like I know I could teach the content, but like and building a relationship is key, you know, because if you guys think back at your favorite teacher or your favorite they're learning facilitators, like. You know, you have that one person like, oh yeah, I can relate to, you know, then we made a connection.
Do. Yeah, when you say that, it's true because you know Mr. Blackman?
Yes.
I think he was a teacher and a principal.
Yes,
right?
Tommy.
So like, that's his name,
Yeah.
Tommy? Shout out Tommy. See, you don't know these kind of things, you know? But I remember I was failing his class, and I think it was history, right? And he tells me, he's like, hey, Lionel, I know you don't, you know, but you got to graduate, man, this and that. And he's having a talk with me, and I'm like, oh, it's because I don't know how to read and comprehend. You know, I'm having trouble with all this. And so I like hip hop, I like rap, you know, I like graffiti and this and that. And he's just like, all right, well, write me a rap. And that'll be your final, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, you know, so I write a whole rap. And he didn't even make me rap it or nothing. He just read the bars, passed me, and was like, "There you go." You know, he's like, "This might not be your form of education how you do it, but you did it in your style."
Yeah.
You know, you're not dumb. And he would always like prove to me like, "You're not dumb. You're gonna be a DJ. You're gonna be a rapper. You're gonna be something."
Yeah.
With hip hop, you know.
Yeah.
And look, I'm here right now.
Yeah, that's so dope.
And
so dope.
one day I want to bring him in here and like,
that'd be cool.
him,
Yeah.
because I've never got to tell him that.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And
Yeah.
Mayor.
Hey,
The
you.
mayor of Palmersville.
Oh, and he was the mayor of
Yeah,
Palmersville.
you'd never
At a
know.
young age.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, you know, and speaking of like, you know, hip hop and stuff like that, I teach that. Like when you have to teach like figurative language and stuff like that, it has to be relatable because kids are not going to connect with it, you know. And so, I mean, I'm not going to teach Shakespeare or anything like that. Nobody, kids don't even want to read that. You know what I mean? They want to read like poems and you know from Tupac or from Biggie and or people that they currently listen to. They want to see real things that they can relate to. And so I'm all for it, you know. And I think that's how I make a connection with them. Also, is making sure that. I don't want to put them to sleep, you know. Let's figure out what you guys like to do and then use it to their advantage. So
that's awesome. I like that. So then let's go into the mayor part now.
Okay.
So you didn't even run for mayor. How did it work?
No, actually, I was just I actually went in on during was it June? It was June. There was a vacancy. The mayor came up and I guess she moved out of the county. And so a vacancy came open, and then there was 5 of us that interviewed for it, and I mean live during the city council meeting and stuff like that. And then the council had to choose.
But you went and interviewed.
So
like,
I did.
Like,
I literally I'm here. I mean, I was frontline, like up on the podium, and they asked you several questions and stuff like that. It was nerve-wracking. Don't get me wrong, because I wasn't going for that. I was like, but a couple people convinced me, like, hey, you should go do it. Just
like
do it.
In the midst of a moment.
Yeah, like you should go do it. And I'm like, all right, I'll put my application. Like, you know, you have to put the thing in. And I was like, I'll try it out. But I didn't think I was gonna have to do it live like that, where people were there, you know, or it was being videotaped. But we did it. They ended up choosing me. So I got sworn in July.
So what were some key points you set up there for the people that didn't go to the meeting, which is like 90% of Lindsay? what were you saying?
99.
Yeah,
I think they wanted to know, like, one of the questions. I'm trying to think of one of the questions. It's been a while. I don't even remember like what some of the questions, but I know one of them was like, why do you think like, you know, like why do you think you? I think they gave you an option to kind of just sell like why you should be in it in the last. And you know what? And what I did is like, man, I am Lindsay. I represent Lindsay on all aspects. I love Lindsay. My grandparents migrated over here from Mexico to get a better life. And, you know, for me, like I want to represent them. And so I sold it, and I can't really remember, you know, if I would have known, I probably would have got them. I have them somewhere written down. But, yeah, it was something like that. And I honestly didn't think they were going to choose me. Because every person on that panel was good. And I would have been happy with whoever they chose. Because everybody in there knew and wanted Lindsay to do good things, you know. And so I was cool. I was cool with them. And then when they chose me, I'm like, what? You know? So, but then I had to rerun.
Yeah, and what comes after that?
So I had to rerun because that seat that I filled came up in November. So that's when you would see my signs and stuff.
So, and what was the process after that? After you got elected?
So I got elected. I did a couple council meetings, and then in November the seat was up. So I had to rerun. That's why you see my signs out there in the community and stuff like that. So I reran. I literally couldn't go to the grocery store without talking to someone like, why should I vote for you? You know, and pitch it, you know. But the outcome was good. I won the majority of the votes, you know what I mean? And I'm very humbled with that. Like, I ain't like trying to brag or anything like that. That shows the connection and the things that I do for this town, you know what I mean? And how much pride I take for this town. So I won. We had 3 new seats filled, which we had two new council members sworn in also.
Wait, so before you go there, like, how does the campaign work? You paid for all those signs?
Yeah.
Or people donated?
It's a crazy process because you have to go to the election office. You have to fill out a lot of papers. You literally have to like say if you have any assets, anything like that. Like if you do take money for people, like you have to count that. I didn't do that because I didn't want to get into all that messy stuff. I was a little nervous and stuff, to be honest. And so I know my sisters donated, and me and my family just bought the signs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty much, what investment was it? Just the signs?
Just the signs.
And then word of mouth.
And word of mouth and social media. Yeah. I mean, I felt like everywhere I went, people knew who I was and knew what I was doing, and they would ask questions. And so I literally couldn't go anywhere. Like my trip to the store would be probably, it was lengthy because people would ask me. And I gave them my time because, you know what I mean? If I want their vote, I should give them my time. I should let them know that what my goal is for the community, you know?
Do you feel like you got some people to vote that have never voted?
I think so. I even had learners like, you know, you're 18, let's sign you up. You know what I mean? And then I had, you know, when I went to the opening of the skate park, you know, I had students coming up to me like, hey, I voted for you. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. You know, I get all choked up because I'm like, man, you know what? That's so cool because I didn't expect it. You know what I mean? I just thought, I think because they knew who I am and they just know what I'm about, you know? And I respectfully got their vote, and I'm very humbled for it. Oh.
That's awesome. So then, after you won the election, right?
Uh-huh.
So how did they let you know?
Man, it was kind of like just like looking a little bit, and you go on the county website. So I was kind of looking and
refreshing every 5 seconds.
No, because I think it would update. I believe like I don't know if it was every hour and something. I can't remember. I think it was like an hour and 15 minutes. But then it wasn't on key. It was like on. So I looked at it 3 times, and I thought, okay, I think I got it. You know what I mean?
And you were winning.
I was not a lot. I think we were all like the way it was, but I was like I had the top votes and stuff like that because you're allowed to vote for 3 candidates. So it was me. There was 5, I believe. There was 5 people on the ballot, right? 5 people on the ballot, and it was me, Adriana Nave, and then Joe Soria. Those are the 3 that got it. So, yeah.
So what is that? So since you 3 are up there, what is it? But you're only the mayor, right?
So when I get sworn in, when we all got sworn in, you have to choose that day. So that council meeting, it was in December. They vote. So somebody nominates, and then. The council votes. So, and it was unanimous. They all picked me, you know.
So then what do they consider, like Joe and...
we're all council. He's a councilman and she's a councilwoman, yeah.
Oh.
I consider myself that too. Like the mayor's just the title with more duties, you know what I mean? Like I don't like to even tell anybody that. People are like, you're the mayor, you know? I'm like, yeah.
You know what's another thing I was thinking about too is like, all right, this is the only comparison I could think when I was like, I'm going to have this combo with her, like, you know, jobs that pay minimum wage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you usually have like, how do you say it? Like, young workers. They usually have like, you know, people that are barely starting. And then those people eventually find someone that pays them more and they take off, right?
Yeah.
So, like, as a mayor, I'm like wondering, like, dude, are we just not paying these people enough? And I know you don't get paid like crazy, you know?
Yeah.
What is it, like $300 a month or something
Yeah.
like that? You know, and I know numbers because I ask a lot of questions.
That's great,
you know?
yeah.
So I'm like, how do we expect to have this badass mayor that wants to make a change when you're not even paying him enough to not even give his car payment for being the mayor, you know?
Yeah.
And that's my personal concern.
Yeah. See, like with me, like I have my daytime job. You know
I know,
what I mean?
but as a mayor, like, think about it.
And some mayors do it full time where they do get paid, you know what I mean? So it's not like that. So it's like, and I still have to attend meetings and represent Lindsay and stuff like that. So it is asking a lot. But I think when you're like, I'm not there for the money, you know what I mean? I'm there to represent my people in my community, and I ask a lot of questions. What do you think we should do? What do you think we need? You know, because I'm just there. Like, this is not I'm always uncomfortable doing things like that. You know what I mean? Because it's not. I think when you're uncomfortable, you grow, and it's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, I enjoy. Like I enjoy it to a certain, but I'm uncomfortable with it because I'm representing my people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm standing up for what I know is right and what I know, what I want and what we want this community to do. You know what I mean? We want it to strive. We want it to get back to where, you know, back when I was growing up, you know, we had a downtown, we had this, we had things to do. And I wanted to get there again. You know, I want people to be able to buy a house here and be able to like go to and eat here and spend money here. You know what I mean? And not go elsewhere.
And now that you say that, you want people to buy a house, right? Then I'm wondering why are we making more apartments instead of keep pushing on the USDA homes?
Yeah,
because me personally, I'm a USDA home buyer. Yeah, I bought my house when I was 22 years old. Yeah. Thanks to the USDA, you know, and I was low income, and that's what helped me get a house. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, how's my nephew going to do it when these are $2,500 mortgage payments, $3,000 mortgage payments, and these are young kids, you know? Yeah. And I thank God that I didn't, because certain people are like, oh, you don't get one of those houses, they're built cheap, they're built this. I'm like, well, they're built, and I don't have credit, I don't have a bankroll behind me where, you know, so I was very young when I got my house. And look, thank God I purchased another property now. But if I would have never got that USDA loan, when would I have been able to get a house?
Yeah.
So like to me, it's like, why are they trying to push people into apartments when at the end of the day, you know, apartments get ghetto. You know, eventually they do them Section A, and now the you know, you're making it bad for the city without even knowing it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we got beautiful apartments here. I'm not gonna like. I know that, you know, they serve our community and stuff like that, and I know people don't want anymore. You know. Mm-hmm. But the goal is to like ultimately, you know, get our well 11 up. You know, we have our well 11 up that's been down since 2015. Get that up so we could produce more water and build more homes here. That's the goal. You know what I mean? And hopefully it could be affordable. But I mean, with our economy right now, with the way things are going, I mean, I want people to be able to, because you think about it, when people are living comfortably and they're going to go to their job and they're able to pay their stuff and not stress, like they live a healthy life. You have a healthier society. You know what I mean? So I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. But you know, I can't say too much on it because I know that, you know, we are, believe me, the council people that we have up, they're representing Lindsay right now, we're working hard. We're trying to figure out ways to make sure that, you know, people that, like even teachers or even people that work, you know, in different places, you know, that want to buy a home here, they have the option to do it because a home that goes up for sale in Lindsay, it sells like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it sells for a lot, you know, more than what it's worth, you know. And so then I agree, people shouldn't be paying $2,500 payments. That's hard. I mean, people probably don't even make that in a month, you know? Exactly. That's crazy. So.
And like I say, like I bought a home like that, right? So I've had the same numbers, I've been the same neighbors my whole time there. Yeah. You know, one person moved out and that's because they got a divorce, but everybody else is the same person. Uh-huh. So it's like, if they want longevity and people to be here for a while, you got to build these homes, you know?
And that's taxes that go into our community.
Exactly.
So,
you know, forever. So it's like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like apartments are cool and yes, they bring more people, but at the end of the day, if those people could get a house, they would gladly be in a house.
Absolutely. You know what? I talk to people that live in apartments. Are like, yeah, half of the people are not even from Lindsay. You know what I mean? So like, I'm all about serving our people that live here. You know what I mean? Because I know some of my students that live with other families. You know how it is. Like that's the one thing about I know here in Lindsay, but even the Mexican household, like we're not gonna let our people go homeless. Like we'll bring in 2 or 3 families and let it stay. So I know that goes on. So I would love for our community to have affordable housing, but good quality also. Mm-hmm. So,
because do you know someone personally that has a USDA home?
Yeah, I know people. Yeah.
And have they been there forever?
Yeah, because it's affordable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and like we're not, like this is California, but at the end of the day, we're not at one of those spots where you can make millions of dollars if you're not in the fruit business, if you don't own fields or anything. You know, it's very hard. Like, if you have a good job, it's not here in Lindsay. I'll tell you that. You know, there's people, they work in Visalia in this office or this. It's always somewhere further. You know? And it's like, I don't know, right here, I don't know what the highest paying job you could get besides maybe Doug DeLeo welding. When it's like,
probably the school district, because the Lindsay school district is one of the highest paying.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They're one of the highest paying employees, especially like around Tulare County. And I mean, they pay their teachers well, they pay their admin well. So. Yeah, so I can't complain about that. So they do make, decent money. And I think like Vitapak's like probably the next biggest one, the employer. And I know that they pay pretty decent.
They pay good, yeah.
So, and I know that like, I've met with some of their people and stuff like that. I'm hoping that either they make it bigger and they bring more opportunity, to Lindsay. So, because I found out the Hiltons, they own Vitapak, like they're the ones like, the people that own the Hiltons. So, I mean, I'm learning a lot just being in, in this, on the city council. So
yeah, that was my next question is like, what's something you've learned ever since?
Oh man, I've learned, I've learned a lot of stuff. And I think, just being connected with people and being connected with like, our leaders, and just being transparent with the community, whether it's good or bad. I want our people to know that, that this what's going on. Don't like slap them a year later, like, oh, they didn't know about it. We want them to know whether it's good or bad, because there is bad things. We know that Lindsay's been in trouble I'm not going to say trouble, but Lindsay's been, kind of in the rut a little bit. And that's our goal as the city council, is to figure out ways with our leaders that are in office and build it up and become better and become debt free. You know what I mean? That's the goal. Because Lindsay could be a good striving community. People move here because it's one, they like the vibe of it, but it is a cheaper place to live. You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
Because another thing because we did a poll on Instagram and we asked, we told the people, hey, we're going to interview the mayor. What do you guys want to ask? And the USDA thing was one of them. And then people were asking about the teen zone because And this is something I don't notice, but our people, they got
they
their
do.
own motion,
Oh, yeah, they do.
And they can tell us. And they're like, tell me one public basketball court.
I know.
Besides the Garvey that they got rid of already.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this. So right now, I believe it's after 5:30 that they built some new basketball courts at Reagan. So those are open to the public.
Okay, there you go.
There you go. It's open to the public. So when the Olive Bowl is completed, there'll be a basketball court there. It's gonna be legit. It's gonna take a while, but that was one thing when I got on city council. I was like, man, we have that money sitting. Let's get that thing going. You know what I mean? I said the people, if there's anything, the people in Lindsay want that done. You know what I mean? And then immediately they got on it, and now they're breaking ground and stuff like that. So that's cool. It's gonna look beautiful. It's gonna be nice. There'll be a basketball court there, which I agree. People like to, because I drive around other communities, whether it's in LA, even like Visalia, and you do see people playing basketball late at night, playing soccer and things like that. Lindsay does need that.
Well, you come from a basketball background,
yes.
so like these people who are asking us are people who ball up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Garvey was a spot where it's like, hey, all of us meet here, and there's 30 people.
Yeah.
I
remember.
And there's tournaments going on, and these guys are people that were all-stars in high school or whatever. And now they're like, hey, ask them where could we play ball?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to charge us to go to the McDermott. They're trying
that's
to charge
crazy.
us to, we can't go to the high school. We can't. There's nowhere to play.
And you think about the people that are in our community. I mean, kids some of them have like memberships. I don't know how they do it now, but like they can't. Parents are not just gonna give them money to go. You know what I mean? But that's an opportunity to keep kids off the street playing. So not Steve Garvey, but over at Reagan School, I call it Steve Garvey sometimes still, but they do have them open, and I'll find the exact time, but I thought it was 5 or 5:30 that they opened it up to the public, and they're nice courts.
They're brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And then another thing they were saying is the teen zone. Like when did you ever go?
Yes,
to the teen
I did
zone?
go to the teen zone. Yes.
And did they ever charge you to get in?
I don't think so, huh?
You just sign your name, and it's I don't know if it's a charity thing or something, but think about it. If your parents are work till 5:30, you get out at 3 or whatever. What are you gonna do for those 2 hours?
Yeah. If you're not playing sports or anything, yeah.
What are you gonna do for those 2 hours?
I remember even coaching and donating my time, and like we would have the basketballs up, basketball practice on the top. Yeah. It was dark. Yeah. Boxing was up there. Yes.
And to me, that was. Like, I've donated time, too, for the McDermott. Yeah. I was teaching free breakdancing classes for the summer camps.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's how I got more involved.
Yeah.
And, and a lot of these kids that are now older, and they come up to me, they're like, you taught me how to breakdance,
that's so cool.
And, I'm like, damn, dude, if the teen zone had a pool table, I learned how to play pool in there. They had little Xboxes. And then, like you said, upstairs was basketball, and there was boxing going on, and it was just like an environment to go to.
Yeah.
And where they're not charging you $7 to get in,
Yeah, the city of Lindsay doesn't own the McDermott anymore. So that's like, it's like they sold it. So I think that's another reason too, because I know that the school district would collaborate with them and kids would have the opportunity, because I know some of our learners would have free memberships. And so I don't know if they're still doing that. I know it's like, but I agree, like they shouldn't, be charging our kids to get into stuff like that, But I know they need to make money, but it's like, man, to me, I think keeping them off the streets is more valuable than,
And I get it too. They got to keep the lights on, right? But at the end of the day, how do they do the teen zone,
Yeah. It had to be some kind of grant or something like that, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know we could find that grant.
Yeah.
I know we could find that location. I know we could. I remember walking in there like it was in my house.
Yeah.
The backpacks go here, you go, and you're like, you sign in.
There was games.
Next on the pool table, hey, the ball's touching the corner. Hey, no, that's where I learned that you put the stick, so it won't hit the wall.
Yeah.
I don't know. And to me, it's like, that's why a lot of kids, I feel like they're stuck inside playing video games, or they're just like, nowadays, you don't care to go to Japan because you can type it in on YouTube and someone's vlogging their whole trip to Japan,
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to get these kids to be like, hey, this is the spot, because they're like, online there's something better than that.
Or making me feel bad, bro. I do that all the time.
That's what I'm saying. You don't feel like you have to travel. You don't feel like you have to do these things because you can look someone up.
Technology is wild, and these kids don't know. But also, I think a lot of these kids, man, are getting into, They like to vape. They like to do all that stuff. We have to give them an outlet for other things to do than just doing that. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I'm preaching it all the time. It's not going to get you anywhere, you know what I mean? Especially at that young age. Their brain's still growing and stuff like that, and that's the focus. Some of these kids, that's all they want to do. You know what I mean? So having something other than, like, I know, shout out to Matt at Awake. He always, at the skate park, he's always doing something, or here with, for the kids and stuff like that,
and
trying to make it a connection, you know?
That's awesome. That's what we need,
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we need, is make more connection with the youth, get them out of the house.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree. Man, let's link up, let's get everybody together. Let's get our community together. Let's figure out something that we can get these youth involved in stuff. Something that they're passionate about.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because honestly, my whole thing, I wanted to build a recording studio, and I love sponsoring people, and I love, if you didn't know, we had a record label. Before we had the store, I had a record label, and I was signing artists, co-signing them to where I'm paying for the studio time with a good studio in Hanford, ran by Cisco. Shout out Cisco. He was like an older rapper from PBC. You probably remember,
If I was to see him, yeah.
Sure. But it's like I would pay for the studio time. He would hook me up and be like, bring whoever, Yeah. He gave me a set price, and I would take artists there, have them record, meet him, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
And then I'd pay for the music video. So, but on top of that, I would have them wear my clothing, wear Dark Alley.
Yeah.
And now it's like the wow factor, they're wearing Dark Alley. And then we're the first thing that pops out on the screen.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to do is help like that, And if we had a place to record, I guarantee you. Give it 3 years, there'll be a big rapper coming out of this town.
Yeah, let's do it. Because I know a lot of my students like to rap. You know what I mean? And they're not bad. I was like, man, they're good.
Yeah, I was at the barbershop, and a little white kid, I'm talking like 7 years old. He's like, oh, I know where Dark Alley, I know. And his mom's like, oh yeah, this guy's always trying to rap. I'm like, bring him by.
Yeah.
And he's gonna come next Tuesday, and I'm gonna let him have a beat. And I have beats from producers from all around here that they gave me free to use them for this.
That's so cool.
And I'm like, dude, if these...
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason why we're shooting content and why we're in this conversation right now, because I need the people to know that.
Yeah.
I need the people to be like, hey, you know what? This guy is doing the right thing for the whole different crowd,
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just gives you a different thing when you give them the beat and they come back in 2 weeks and they're rapping a song to you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and I've also gave beats, and these people go home and they don't ever bring nothing back.
Yeah.
But at that point, whose fault is that?
Yeah. There's.
Yeah, I'm doing my part. I'm doing my good karma. Like, hey, here's the push for you.
Some of my learners, they'll rap and stuff like that, and it's kind of inappropriate. But I'm like, man, I challenge them, rap something, do something positive, throw out your teacher or something like that either,
But that's let's just say, when you were young and you were rapping, everything you were going through, you'd be speaking about certain things.
Yeah.
So rapping's not it's not one of those things I'm a rapper. It's no, they're trying to tell you something without straight up telling you.
Yeah.
If they're rapping about these gangs or any certain thing, it's that's what they're seeing.
Yeah.
They're not just rapping it because it sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I agree, yeah.
Rap is a form of expression.
It is.
I
love rap music.
Exactly.
Hey, get on the record, the mayor loves mayor loves rap music.
As long as you listen to it and don't get inspired by it, like they say, those memes go around all the time, driving to my 9 to 5 listening to music about drug dealing or whatever the heck,
Yeah.
And it's true, everybody likes that music because it's a wow factor, people actually, or I killed 10 people, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
It's pretty much anything else.
Yeah.
It's a wow factor. It's not you're going to go kill 10 people.
Yeah.
It's just more the sound, wow.
I always go back to Tupac. If he was so poetic, he was telling a story, especially how society, you would say is, but was, but it still is. You know what I mean? He was telling us a story. It was real. So I think that's a great thing. I think we should link up, get the community together, get that going. I think you would have so many kids in here wanting to do it. You know what I mean?
I feel what we do, kids walk in here they're not gonna tell their parents to bring them here. They secretly come here.
Yeah.
And to me, it's it shouldn't be like that.
No. Yeah.
The parents could come and talk to me.
Yeah.
Come and get a convo in so you see who I am, so you see where your kids are coming.
Yeah.
Don't just look outside and be like, that's graffiti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I give marijuana, no almost.
Yeah. Or and at the end of the day, it's that's what we're trying to promote is we're not bad people.
No, you're not.
We're dressed different. This is streetwear. This is what we wear, you know? And you don't want to let go of certain things. I don't want to just shine people off that do graffiti or shine. It's a form of art and they're expressing themselves.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Well, number one thing is don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The way you dress doesn't define who you are. You know what I mean? So.
And that's another thing that I like about you. When I first met you, it was at the rib cook-off, remember?
Yeah.
And we met, and you bought your son a hat.
Yeah.
You know, and me in my head, I'm like, damn, this is writing in old English, you know? And I'm just like, and you weren't the mayor yet, huh?
No.
You weren't the mayor yet.
No, I was just city council, yeah.
Yeah, and like the forum, you talked to me and everything, and then I found out that you were running and all that. It made me want to vote, and I don't vote. I'll be
Nice.
honest with you. I'm anti all that, you know? Because I'm like, you know, these people do what they want regardless.
Yeah.
But it made me want to vote, and I actually voted.
Nice.
That's why
cool.
when I asked you, I was like,
yeah.
like, do you feel like, and you did.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if she has the time to come and buy this hat, and your son chose it, you know?
Yeah.
And he chose the one you didn't want him to choose, but he chose it. And you bought it.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, my respects to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Know?
Yeah.
That's mayor power.
Yeah, thank you. You know what? For me, like, I think, like, if we want people to spend money in Lindsay, like, I have to be the example of it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I buy my tires here. I'll do oil changes here. I get my hair done here, you know. I literally think about, if I could get it in Lindsay, why not? You know what I mean? I can't say like, oh, you spend your money here in Lindsay and not be the example of it. So, you know, I go to Awake, you know. Now that I have the dark alley, you know, option, I mean, dude, I love repping stuff, especially if it's from my town. So.
Sometimes people think because, oh, you're going for a little bit further, it's a little bit cheaper, but between the gas and the distance, it's like,
yeah.
What's the point?
But then, like, you make your community strive when you buy it here, you know.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, because I've had people tell me it. Like Chacon, when we were talking to, he's like, bro, what tripped me out about you guys, I was in Ventura, you know, and someone was wearing dark alley, you know, and
That's
he's just
so
like,
cool.
I just tripped out so crazy because it's a Lindsay thing, you know. Like anybody who says dark alley, they right away connect Lionel or, you know, like what you guys do. And it's just crazy being out there. I was having dinner with my wife and someone walked by wearing it, you know?
Yeah.
And like, we get online orders and things like that. That's why I know we could go bigger and we could help more.
Yes.
You know, but when we're busy trying to like fund ourselves.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's like triple the work and it starts getting harder.
Yeah.
You know? Because I have someone in my city right now that's willing to donate a booth. But like we like to have this podcast, I want you guys to know like we have a small building and we just try to make the best out of it, right? So like when we're not recording here, we're working here. This is a work area.
Yeah.
You know, and where we shoot the other podcast is right here. You know, it's just right here and it's a whole different background.
Yeah.
You know, so at the end of the day, like I want to help. And at the end of the day, it's hard because I'm not a producer. I don't know how to edit music.
Yeah.
But I know there's a kid in high school that knows how to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if we had like pretty much like a grant or however you say it, and you're paying this kid, hey, we're gonna pay you $15 an hour minimum wage, but whoever comes in here, you're gonna record them. You know, you got your schedule. Hey, it's after school at 4. You're gonna engineer this. So what are you showing that kid when he's coming in here and this is his job?
Yeah, responsibility. You're giving him skills, you know, to be out in the real world. And I know that the Lindsay School District put out, like the Lindsay Leads put out a thing where you can apply for a grant. I don't know if there's a deadline, but I think they're giving up. You could get up to $5,000. Apply for it. That would be cool. You know what I mean? Go to your, like, you know, if you're passionate about it, I say do it. You know what I mean? I'll support you. If I have to write you a letter of rec, I would definitely do that, you know? Because I think if you do that, I think kids will come. You know what I mean? Because who doesn't like music? Every kid that walks into the high school has an AirPod on. You know?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you have to tell them to take it out. I was like, hey, I'm going to do direct instruction now. Like, take it out, you know? And so, like, they're always playing music. And I always want to know what they're listening to, you know, whether it's gangster rap, any kind of, you know, trap music, whatever, you know? But I think it's a great idea. I think it would be, like, legit. Kids will come, you know? You're going to have to shoot some away, you know?
Yeah. So. And that's the whole thing about it. It's like, if we could show this kid that, hey, you're not just making beats, it's for school.
Yeah.
Like, now you're getting paid. Because you know there's producers out there that'll get $50,000 a beat.
Yeah.
So why are we not pushing these kids that are in there making beats to like pursue this? There's a site called BeatStars. If you guys don't know about it, hop on there where you could post your beats and sell them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So like I know about all these little secret things that I'm like, dude, I know how to distribute music to like basically you bring me a song and I could post it and it's gonna go on Apple Music, it's gonna go on Spotify, it's gonna go on iTunes. It's going to go on YouTube. Yeah. So if anybody uses your music, basically you're still going to get paid for that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
I
cool.
feel like a lot of kids, they're like, oh, I'm a rapper. I like rapping. They know the lyrics part. They know they can rap on the mic. But where's the business side in it?
Yeah. That's the thing when I tell students, like, I want to do this, want to own their own business. I'm like, take a business class because you want to make sure that you run a solid business, because it's not easy. You don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? You're good at one thing, but you're not good at all things. And so, I think I'm all for it, dude. I think it sounds so cool.
So like, for you, like, you're already, what are your plans for the next, year of Lindsay? Or how long are you going to be, how does it work? 4 years? Is it
So I'm 4 years on the council, and I believe it's 2 years with mayor. I think it's the 2 years. And so, I mean, my ultimate goal is just to listen to people and, listen to their needs and also be transparent with their community and figure out ways, financially to make Lindsay better. And just hold the people that are in the leadership roles in Lindsay, is hold them accountable and make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying micromanage them, but I think as councils like that, for a long time, council didn't know what was going on and stuff like that. People were blindsided by things, even when, as a citizen was blindsided when things would come out like, whoa, And so I think just being transparent with our community, whether it's good or bad, and, there's a lot of good things coming. I feel very good about the direction Lindsay's going. Do we have a lot of work? Yes. But I feel good about it. You know what I mean? I'm willing to put the work in. So.
Cool. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to tell the people before we head out? Anything I missed?
No. I mean, come to Dark Alley. It's a beautiful building. He's got a lot of good things going on. And, come check it out. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I have an open door policy. You can contact me on social. A lot of people contact me on social media, but you could also get on the website and email me. And I'm very responsive. I try to, connect with people and make sure that, if I don't know the answer, I try to find the answer.
Cool.
So,
what are your social medias?
I have Instagram and Facebook. I don't really post a lot. I post a lot of stuff with the city and stuff like that, but people message me, so I leave it open, But I also...
What are your names on there, though?
I believe it's just Misty Villarreal on Facebook, and then I think my Instagram is Misty623 or something like that, yeah. Okay. But other than that, yeah, I mean, and then you can go on the Lindsay website. I was going to say the school district because I have that one too, but the Lindsay, City of Lindsay website, and you'll see my emails there, so they can email me. And then... usually, if they call the city, they'll say, "Hey, can I give so and so your number?" I'm all for it. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say "Oh, don't contact me." I'm here to serve the people. So.
Any shout outs you want to give to people that ever since you became mayor, they're being more involved, that weren't involved,
Oh, I don't know. I'm in kind of undercover. People are barely finding out. Hey, you're the mayor. So I mean, shout out to everybody. I didn't go around telling people. You know what I mean? Because I was like, man, that's one. I'm humbled about the whole thing, and I'm just trying to learn the role of it, and shout out to my city council, for voting me in. I mean, it's just a lot of extra duties, and I don't.
Is there anything that people could help you with? Any volunteers you need?
You know what? I just say, if you have a concern, don't go on Facebook. Show up to the city council. Your voice needs to be heard. I encourage people to show up to the city council meetings, and I love to listen. I like to know, not only am I seeing it, but everybody on the dais is seeing it. All the council members, and we come together, and we truly care about Lindsay, and we want to figure out a solution to theirs. So that's where it can be heard.
Did you say it's every other Tuesday?
It's every second Tuesday and every fourth Tuesday of the month. So twice.
Anybody could pull up?
Anybody could pull up. 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
I know a lot of people that they just posted on if you grew up in Lindsay, and they're like...
they got the Twitter fingers. That's what we call them. And I'm like,
warriors.
Or keyboard warriors, I'm like, show up, I would love to hear them, you know what I mean? You don't have to sit there and just, bash Lindsay all the time on social media, because we are trying to do good things, but it's going to take a whole community together, to come together and make it better, so...
Awesome. Well, thank you, Misty.
Thank you.
I want to say we appreciate you. Thank you for showing our side,
Yeah.
A little love, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Everybody on that mob shit, pull up, try rob shit. Funny how they drive out, but I'm hopping out the car, bitch. This one is for Lindsay, all the people that stuck with me and the ones that fell off. Never forget just how you did me, bitch, nigga.